More angles. Now we're going to talk about coterminal angles. Coterminal angles have the same terminal side. That's why they're called coterminal angles. And the technical definition of them is this right here. If A is the degree measure of an angle, then all angles measuring A plus 360 times K, where K is an integer, are coterminal with angle A. So that just goes along the lines with what I talked about on a previous slide, was that if we have an angle in terminal position, and we can go around this center, so that would be 360, 270, and up to there, that would be, 360, 720, and then 720 plus 90, okay? So that would be another angle. 810 degrees. Sorry, my brain is not completely functional yet this morning. Anyway, so that would be 810 degrees. Okay, so ultimately, and we can go either way around the coordinate plane to have positives or negatives. Okay, so what we're talking about here, so this would be like negative 270. Okay, that would be negative 270, but a coterminal angle would be 270 plus 360, which is some ridiculous number that I'm not thinking clearly on right now. Super fun. So that would be that one. Coterminal angles have the same terminal side. We talk about coterminal angles a lot because coterminal angles have the same trig functions. So when we get into trig, if two angles are coterminal, all of their sine, cosine, tangent, secant, cosecant, and cotangent will all be the same. So that's why we talk about these, because they have all the same trig things. Now, for these problems that we're going to try, it says identify all the angles that are coterminal with the given angle, then find one positive and one negative. In this situation, all the angles is going to be, the answer is going to be an expression. Okay? The one positive will be very specific, and the one negative will also be a specific angle. So in most cases, when you have to find all the solutions, or when you have to find all of anything, I need you to start thinking in the abstract and start thinking like, oh, I've got to come up with an expression, okay? So I'm going to kind of do these off to the side. I'm going to say all, I'm going to make a little table. I'm going to go a positive one and a negative one. So for number one, okay, for 45 degrees, all just means I'm going to take 45 degrees plus 360 times K. And then you're going to say K is an integer. Boom, that's all. Period. You're done with that problem. Okay. It is an expression because I have that little variable K in there. Now, for one positive, easy peasy. I'm going to take 45 plus 360. Well, 45 plus 360 is 405. There is a specific angle that is positive that is coterminal with 45 degrees. For one negative, I'm going to subtract 360. Okay. So when we subtract 360 from 45, it's going to be negative 315. Boom. There is one specific negative angle that is coterminal with 45 degrees. So we've got the expression for all. And then for a positive, we're going to add or subtract 360. For a negative, you're going to add or subtract 360. You might have to add or subtract more than once depending on the angle. You guys pause the video, try number 2 on your own. I'm going to keep going now. For all, it's just going to be negative 225 degrees plus 360k. And we're just going to say k is an integer. For a positive one, I can add 360 and it's going to get to a positive number, so perfect. I'm not going to try to do that in my head. My brain's not with it. All right, negative 135. It's a little embarrassing that I can't do that in my head, but oh well, that's life. All right, so for a negative 225 minus 360. Again, I'm not going to do that one in my head either because I'm not feeling like thinking today. 585. Okay. I hate to make mistakes. I was a little embarrassed with the little swirlies I did up on top there. Anywho, so if you have questions on this, let me know. All right, next slide. Now, here's what we're going to do with this one. If each angle is in standard position, determine the coterminal angle that is between 0 and 360. State the quadrant in which, this should say in which, the terminal side lies. So, ultimately, you look at the angle, and you're going to add or subtract 360. Okay, so this one's 775. So you could do this in steps. 775, you're going to subtract 360, and $775 minus 360, and that's going to be 415. Well, 415 is not between 0 and 360, so I need to subtract 360 again. And that's going to be 55 degrees. Now, what quadrant does the terminal side lie in? This is where we have to think about those quadrantal angles, and I'm going to write it up here. Okay, so this is 90. So we got 90, 180, 270, and then 360 or 0. Okay, so from 0 to 90, 55 is from 0 to 90. This is quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. So we'll just say quadrant 1. Okay, that's what we've got to do for all of these problems. I want you to do number 2. The difference between number 1 and number 2 is this is a negative angle. So in number 1 we subtracted 360. But 775 was positive, so if we start with a negative angle, what are we going to do? Are we going to add or subtract? We're going to add. I hope you said that a long time ago. So you're just going to add 360. So negative 1297 plus 360. Now some of you will think about it, I don't want to do it in steps, do 5 steps or whatever. You might want to think about, well, 360 times 4, what's that? It's 1440. So I'm going to actually add this 4 times. All right. So I'm going to take and add negative 1297 and 1440, and that's going to give me 143 degrees. Now 143 degrees, if I look up at my little quadrant, where is that going to land? Where is that terminal side going to land? It's going to land in quadrant 2. Okay. Now in 3 and 4, I threw these in just for fun. If you look at 3, well, 3 is between 0 and 360, so there's nothing to do besides tell me what quadrant it lies in. Same with this one. There's nothing to do besides tell me what quadrant it lies in. 86 degrees lies in quadrant 1. 296 lies in quadrant 4. Why are the quadrants important? Well, later on when we start talking about all those trig ratios like sine, cosine, tangent, The quadrants make a difference because they're going to tell us whether they're positive or negative and whatnot. I'm going to make a separate video for reference angles. I talk too much.